All right, everybody, another crossover episode coming at you today as we get prepared for the new season. And today, the team I love to hate, the Vegas Golden Knights host Tony Cordasco is here. Another crossover, a lot to talk about with this team. When is there not? It's like the soap opera that just keeps on giving. I absolutely love it. And Tony's great because he's fair when he talks about Vegas. So let's get to this one. This is going to be fun.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of the Vegas Golden Knights. It's like just one of the best storylines in hockey. It's the team that just keeps on giving content. So in that regard, I'm jealous of you, Tony, because there's always something to talk about with Vegas. So I gotta. We did one crossover a while ago. Time to do another one because I just it's like a love-hate relationship that I have with this team. And I'll explain it because I did the Thursday NHL show with Adam Denker, and something came to me like, why do I dislike this team so much? And I think I figured it out. And we'll talk about that in a second. But first things first, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. You can follow our show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And you can follow us on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. You can subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. Tony, why don't you throw out where players and fans alike can follow the Vegas Golden Knights?
Okay, we do have a YouTube channel now, thanks to Chris Golick, my co-host, and it is Locked On VGK. I'm going to start an Instagram account so I could get more slander thrown at me. And then we're on Twitter at Tony Dasco and at TD Chris G and also at Locked On VGK.
And follow Tony's personal Twitter page that I just threw out there because you're real, man. Like that's what I like about you. Like you cover this team and you are not afraid to throw them under the bus when they do something wrong. And if they do something right, you give them credit, you give them praise. But you are not the fan that just backs everything that this team does. You're very, very honest. And that's why you're like one of my favorite people over at Locked On because you're just not the fan that just loves absolutely everything they do and they can do no wrong.
And I liked being on your spaces, guys. And
I was just about to say,
I
was just about to say that you were a guest a couple times in the playoffs. You would pop in there and you had nothing but nice things to say. So it was an honor having you.
Great run. Super run for the Avalanche, man.
It was good. It was
repeat.
Good. So
yeah, it's going to be a repeat. We'll get to that.
I'll leave that to you. My lips are sealed. I was just doing the Thursday edition of Locked On NHL with Adam Denker from Locked On Lightning, and we were talking about storylines heading into the season. And Vegas came up, and just what to expect from them this year with a full year of Jack Eichel and things like that. And everybody that knows me knows I'm just not a fan of how this team does business. And then it hit me. It's like I've never had a team like when you dislike a team. You dislike players on the team or you dislike a fan base or something like that. I've never disliked the team because of the front office. and that's what it is. Like I was thinking about it, I'm like, I really don't, there's nobody on the team that I'm just like, I can't stand that guy. It's your typical like, because they're so good, you don't like them, like Mark Stone or something like that. But just how this team operates of just this like arrogance almost just rubs me the wrong way. And I know like there's probably some Vegas fans that are just like, hey, deal with it. And I get that. Like maybe if it was my team, maybe I'd feel differently about it. But how do you feel about how this team just has like this, I guess it's kind of like a no nonsense type of way. And it's just like, we'll make decisions now and figure it out later.
Exactly. And we've talked about before at length about the salary cap and how they have no regard for the salary cap, and they'll just again continue to sign players, manipulate the salary cap. They thought they were smarter than everyone else in the league last season, and it backfired. Let's put all these guys, stack them up on the LTIR, and then once we make the playoffs, well, they never made the playoffs. Then they were going to release all these players, and they were going to go on this historic run. But I have the same issues with VGK. Nothing against the players. It's mostly against the front office. And I really do believe that with Kelly McCrimmon, if this team gets out to a slow start by December, I mean, he might be curtains. It might be done. He might be done here because
Really?
the fans, the fans are just getting tired of him. I mean, how could you trust a guy whose eyebrows don't move? I mean, like they must be glued on. There's something going on with those eyebrows. I mean, and I just don't trust him. And so
Yeah.
I'll bring up one case here. We have Nick Hague, who is a restricted free agent with the VGK. And so Nick Hague, back in July, they gave him an offer sheet. We don't know what it is. That's the one thing I don't like about the National Hockey League. Why so secretive? Let us know what it is. He couldn't go to arbitration because of the category RFA that he is. And so we come to find out there's no news about Nick Hague. And my broadcast partner on Lockdown VGK, Chris Golick, all along has said something's fishy about this, and to his credit, he also said it could be a sign and trade coming up. And then they just kept signing more players. And Nick Waugh comes in at $3 million. Then they go out and they sign Phil Kessel for over $1 million. And now there's no money left to sign Nick Hague. But all along, Kelly McCrimmon is telling the fans and the media, this is a priority to sign Nicholas Hague. And so Hague was working out with the team earlier this week, some of his teammates, and then he just took off once camp started on Thursday. And then Kelly McCrimmon comes back and doubles down. It's still a priority to sign Nick Hague when we know there's been no discussions, according to media reports and according to Nick Hague's agent. There's been no discussions, no dialogue between the two sides since July. And so, how much longer could that garbage go on?
Wow. So, I mean, it's basically like he's just telling the fans what they want to hear. They're wanting to hear it's a priority. But if it was a priority, like at this stage in the game, that's got to be done. That's crazy.
And like to piggyback off your point right there, Chris and Tony, like looking like if you're pulling up your roster right now, it's massive. There's no way this team could be put together. We talk about teams up against the cap and they have to do this, they have to do that. There, you have to get rid of at least 20% of what NHL.com has listed. And
Right?
and you were talking about it could be curtains by December. I could see from a fan's perspective, that has to be extremely annoying. You have, I think, 7 goalies listed on roster. I mean, 150 defensemen and 991 forwards. Like, how do fans of Vegas seeing this team slide backwards and then seeing roster construction like this? We all like to point our fingers at how Arizona's run and they're playing out of a tiny little barn and ha ha ha, this is all funny. But Gary Bettman established this franchise, gave them the keys to the league, the shiniest jerseys, the most extravagant game day atmosphere, and then to see it run like this, how do fans get excited for this upcoming season knowing that it's going to be a dumpster fire?
Well, let's go back a couple of years ago when they only suited up against your Colorado Avalanche, 15 players in a game where the President's Cup was on the line. And then, Pete DeBoer, yes, he had over 500 man games lost due to injuries. We get all of that.
Wow.
But when push came to shove late in the season, they're playing minus one guy. And players like Jack Eichel have got to double shift. And it was just a disaster because they don't know how to manage the salary cap. And so now there's a new coach in town. So we've got Bruce Cassidy. And you know what? To answer your question, though, Shaggy, to be honest with you, I think the fans, they're split down the middle. Like some of them are really fed up with all this nonsense, and some of them are still like drinking the Kool-Aid. But the real ones are starting to understand that this is not going to make sense. Pete DeBoer was the fall guy, although his system was so antiquated that by the middle part of the season, everyone caught up to what he was trying to do. You funneled this team outside. They could have 40 shots on net. They're all coming from the perimeter. Nothing really high danger zone. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, he had to go. I get it. Bruce Cassidy trying to bring grit to this roster where I don't know where there's any grit here. I'm trying to figure out, is William Karlsson going to start checking people over the boards? Where's the grit on this team? you know.
No.
And then the lines. So the lines the first day, pretty interesting. The top line had Eichel centering Riley Smith and Phil Kessel. Now, to me,
Wow.
okay, and they acted like this might be the norm. We'll see on Sunday, you know, against Colorado. So what happens here? Like Phil Kessel is, I can't skate at all, and I'm probably still faster. And you know, Eichel is the fastest skater on the team. I could see Riley Smith perhaps fitting in with him. But Kessel, I just don't understand that. And then, you know, Mark Stone was out there. That's good because he had the back surgery over the summer.
Mhm.
And we'll see, you know, if he could come back on Friday, how he's going to be playing, if he's recovering well, whatever. But they had Stevenson centering Stone and Marchessault. And so they broke up the misfit line with
Yeah.
William Karlsson. Finally, once and for all. I mean, 43
Mm.
goals his first season and nothing since. Has he scored
Yeah.
43 since?
Nope.
You know, and they signed him to a long-term contract. But in any event,
Wow.
I'm just curious to see, you know, all these pieces. I saw that NHL.com, they have their top 16 teams. VGK is not even mentioned. Now, is this going to be a team that could sneak up on other teams? I don't know. I still have them finishing either third or fourth in the Pacific Division, and I think they're going to get out to a slow start. I really feel that way.
Do you think the way that they do business is turning off, you know, free agents? I know it's tough goings right now to sign any free agents for them because they're just in a cap disaster. I mean, they're keeping the people at Cap Friendly active in how they, you know, run their page over there. I mean, they're looking at negative. Is that right? Negative 10 million in projected cap space right now. Like they're still.
Well, they
I
have to put, yeah, they still have to make sure that they put the salaries of Robin Leonard on LTIR,
Right.
Nolan Patrick with his $1 million salary. Someone still has him as a third line wingman, and he's not playing
So
this season. It was
yeah.
officially announced by Kelly
Okay.
McCrimmon.
So they still have
with
work
those
to do
stupid
there.
eyebrows.
But,
Yeah, and then Shea Weber,
but
like some dead weight. We just
right.
let's pick
Okay.
him up, throw him on LTIR.
All right. So do you think
Do you
maybe
have any dead
going
players on
forward?
LTIR there in Colorado? Like,
Could it be a problem? Could people look at Vegas and like, I don't want to go there because look, I mean, loyalty in sports is like, you don't get that. That doesn't really get thrown around that much anymore with free agents just hopping around all over the place. But it just seems like Vegas just is taking it to another level and you are expendable. You're like the New England Patriots of hockey. It was just like, we'll find someone else to replace you for a number of reasons. For them, it's usually right now it's salary cap reasons. So, I mean, is it a problem going forward of we might not be able to rein in some free agents because they don't know if they're going to be here for a year and then gone for some reason.
and they didn't like the way they were treated, you know, while they were here. We'll take the case of Max Pacioretty, who was gone in the offseason, trade for future considerations. That's the other thing they're getting sick and tired of
Crazy.
here. They make
That's
these
crazy.
trades for nothing. Okay, we'll make the trade for a ghost. Like they make trades for no one.
You have to.
And
You
then you
can't
have,
bring anything in.
of course, but you can finagle some things, and you know, if you're
Draft
smart
picks or
with your
something,
cap and getting rid
yeah.
of some of the dead weight and all of that, yeah. And you know, they do have a lot of assets. They have a lot of draft picks, and they do have, you know, pretty good roster in AHL in Henderson. And to me, it's just it's going to catch up with them. And Pacioretty said there was no accountability on this team, no accountability, and he said that, you know, you'd lose and people would still be like high-fiving you here. I think you know what? Maybe the new car smell's finally wearing off though. And it was
Good
a bit
point.
of a reality check. And Mark Stone, you know, said in the offseason he went back to Canada and he said everywhere he went, people were telling him your team sucks. And so now
Wow.
he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Sure.
I don't know how it's going to play out, but I'll tell you what, we never had this past summer, we did not have to reach for content once because every
No.
day they were just feeding us content.
Wow. All
I didn't have
right.
to make stuff up for once.
Yeah.
First summer, I didn't have to do that, you know?
Man. All right. Some more to get to, but we got to get to Bet Online first. So we got betonline.net. That is your number one source for football betting for this season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game that you can find. How are people handling that last loss for the Raiders over there, Tony? Is that have people gotten over that yet, or no?
No.
We're not talking
No,
about.
there was
We're a hockey podcast. We're
no.
not talking
There's
about.
a great no. There's a great meme. We've had the drought. Lake Mead is down to nothing. They're finding all these dead bodies out there, and they said it's getting filled back up by the Raiders
The
fans'
tears.
tears.
Oh boy.
I'm sure Kyler Murray's
Or
still running.
or all that champagne that was getting popped in the stands that day. It's getting filled up with
Oh.
that too. Oh man, what a disaster that was. And us Broncos fans with Josh McDaniels, we don't feel bad about that. As always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. You can head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. That's betonline.net. It's where the game starts. All right, sir. New coach we mentioned briefly. Bringing in Bruce Cassidy from the Boston Bruins. I mean, that right there was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, because I remember them saying things that they were not going to go for a big hire or a flashy name or something like that. In true Vegas fashion, it's kind of what they did. And not a bad hire. I mean, he's a really good coach. So, I mean, do you feel like he can get the best out of what this team has to offer?
I mean, the fans are hoping so. The one thing that he will have is a better structure, I believe, and he does want to create some sort of a gritty team, and he does want your defensemen to be attacking. And I think we saw in the rookie games that they played in the rookie face-off in San Jose this past weekend, where they were doing a better job, and it's probably part of Bruce Cassidy's system early stages with the rookies, where they are clogging up the neutral zone a little bit more. So we might see some improvement there. Is it going to take a while for these players to mesh? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do feel bad for Jack Eichel because I think he could have a breakout year, and I don't know if he's going to do it on a Phil Kessel line. To be quite honest with you, I'm just being frank, but I just think that Kessel, I thought by far, because I went to a few games down the stretch last year, including the game where Jack Eichel broke his hand blocking a shot against the Florida Panthers, and I tell you what, he's just to watch him live to me was something else. It really was an eye opener because he kind of glides down the ice, beats everyone down the ice. He was making passes, but no one could handle him other than Max Pacioretty. So I don't know who's going to mesh with him, who's going to gel. And if Kessel is on that top line, maybe they're going to have Kessel because he's a good assist guy, setting up, Jack Eichel in the slot. They didn't get into the slot area last year, and I think that's going to be something that they have to improve on. But I think, and the one thing though, like they kind of glossed over when they introduced Bruce Cassidy, right? This organization, here we go again. It's like, okay, he does all these things great, bring a new structure. He's made it to the playoffs the last 6 seasons, and he's going to fix the power play. And then they just go, wait, what? Hang on a second. Automatically, he's going to fix the VGK sick power play. So I went back. They were slightly better than VGK in Boston on the power play unit.
Oh, wow.
And we thought that like 0 for 19 was pretty bad with VGK. They went through like a 0 for 40-ish streak on the power play. So all of a sudden, oh, yeah, that's going to be fixed. And then I read media accounts. Yeah, the power play is going to be much better this year. Says who? They'd have to prove it to me.
Right.
And before we flip everything, I do have one last question, just as a unaffiliated, like this has nothing to do with our teams. Nolan Patrick. It's been a crazy ride to see. Like he's even entertaining the thought of not playing in the league again.
Really?
Yeah, it's like he's not playing this next season.
Yeah, he's done. I think he's done overall.
You think so?
What's going on there?
So again, he had the one season in Philadelphia where he had the migraines and the head injury, and then he just got hit in the head again, this past season a couple of times. That wasn't the Nathan McKinnon hit, but he was, injured again. It's another head injury, and the next concussion could be, devastating, I think, for him. Now, I know Kelly McCrimmon was asked today if there were any plans for him moving forward because why retire if you can just sit on the LTIR, make over $1 million, right?
Yeah.
But if there's any plans in the future for him to be an assistant coach, a scout, or something, and he said there have been some discussions about things like that. Guys, we didn't even get into goaltending.
Yeah.
We talk
we
about
were gonna go
goaltending,
there.
or we're going to wait for that.
No. Well, there's two other things that I wanted
Just give
to
me
get
some
to.
signals. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. No, this is your show. Oh, man.
No, this is both of our shows. So I wanted to first. I wanted to know if there's any prospects that we should know about in the system. Are there any that maybe could be pushing for some time this year? Maybe an outside shot of getting in, maybe on a fourth line or something like that, or down the road. Are there any big Golden Knight prospects that are kind of in the pipeline that are players to look at?
Yeah. There's two that I think are probably the favorites to move up to the next level. We have Brandon Brisson, who played at the University of Michigan. His dad is Pat Brisson, the super agent, and he played at Michigan, was drafted by VGK the year before, and then he came up to the AHL level and he scored some goals and had a really good start. And they're pretty high on him as a prospect. He played well, had a couple of goals in the first game of the rookie faceoff. And then today he was out there, though, in the red jersey, got a little bit dinged up. So no contact for him, but he should be back and should be better. And he's a guy that could play on the wing, and he's very talented, very athletic, and his hands are really quick. And then the second prospect that I think is going to, well, let's say Nick Hague can't make it, back with this team, and there is no offer, and he goes away, or they do a sign and trade. Caden Korzak, who's a defenseman, I think could fill in adequately on the next level, on the NHL level. He put on 14 pounds of muscle over the summer, and he's already been a really good player. He could pass. I think he's going to fit in well within a Bruce Cassidy system. I think he's going to be the first defenseman, first man up, I think, for the defense. So I'd have to say those two players. And maybe Michael Hutchinson. I'm just kidding. That's bad.
Oh, hey now.
Shots fired.
Let's end on a positive note. The Vegas goaltending.
That's positive.
That's
That's positive.
I mean, that seems that could be an Achilles heel for this team. What's the latest with their goaltending situation?
Before we go forward, we have to go back. Okay, so remember, Dr. Frank Saravelli was diagnosing via Twitter that Robin Leonard was hurt last season, and Leonard's disputing all of this. I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt. Look at me. And then as he's doing that, he's getting more injured. And so they had to surgically put him back together over the summer. And so he had the shoulder surgery. He had the knee surgery, and not one, but two hips, both hips, two hip surgeries.
Word.
Yeah. So right now, I think they were waiting for the first one to mend, and then they were starting on the second surgery. But they thought he could come back, and they knew about the wear and tear, but they thought he could still contribute this season, and maybe next off season he would take care of his hips. In any event, this word came from Leonard and the doctors and everyone else in July, when all those free agents like Georgiev, everyone was off the table. And so they have nothing really to go after.
Man.
And so, Logan Thompson is good. But I've said on our show that I'm curious to see, in Major League Baseball, with him going back through a lineup for a second time, facing a team for a second time. How's that going to be? Is he going to respond well? How's he going to be under now just more pressure, being the number one? He did a great job last season coming in, and he played well down the stretch for VGK. He'll be the number one, I believe, on opening day. Aiden Hill, they pick up from San Jose. I don't know about Aiden Hill. Again, he's a perfect Golden Knight. He got hurt last year after 25 games. Oh, he'll fit in LTIR guy, And then we've got Michael Hutchinson. And then we have Seville, this goaltender down to the AHL. But I always last year, and Laurent Brossoit now, he's not ready. He's not going to be back. We don't know when he'll be back, I should say, because he had surgery. I think it was knee surgery in the off season. And so right now, I think I believe it's in a state of flux, and they're going all in on Logan Thompson. And if Thompson can't bail them out, then they're going to be in trouble. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think a lot of it hinges on Logan Thompson and, again, Jack Eichel when you're talking about the team overall, those two players.
Yeah. Wow. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. So, anything that you have thrown towards us that you're wanting to know about what this Avalanche team means in the grand scheme of things, and maybe even
Yeah,
get
no,
your
I
voice.
yeah, I wanted to talk about, the big salary for Nathan McKinnon coming
Sure.
in and signing the contract at 12.6 to Connor McDavid's 12.5
Yes.
AAV. A
Yes.
little one-upmanship there. Gotta love that. How do you feel about these high salaries? I know in doing research with the salary cap, you could sign a player up to 20% of the cap, so that would be in the 16 million range.
Right.
But do you put again at term? So McKinnon comes off of a 7-year contract, and now they sign him to an additional 8. That's 15 years. Is he going to last 15 years? What are your thoughts on that high salary going to one player?
For me, I'm if it's him, I'm completely fine with it. I don't have an issue with it, and it is interesting. Yeah, 15 years on a guy who how he plays, like he's a bull in a china shop. You know what I mean? Like, and he's not gonna slow down. Like, as he gets into the twilight of his maybe after this contract, into his next contract when he's playing, deep into his 30s, maybe then he has to change his style of play because he just can't. The old bones can't keep doing it that way. But no, like I don't. He's rarely. I mean, if he's injured, he's out for maybe like a game or two. He's never a guy that misses a ton of time. He had his nose bent sideways against Boston last year, and I think only missed a couple games. So he comes back pretty quickly from injury. So from that aspect, no, I'm not really thinking about injuries too much. But as far as the dollar amount, I think once this cap goes up, Kyle and I were talking about it earlier. Like you're
How
gonna have
high do you think it'll go? I think they're talking 24, 25 when it goes up much higher. But what
another
are they
24
talking?
million.
Another 24.
I haven't heard that high. I mean, if that's the case, then
No,
yeah.
no, no. I meant
No,
20,
in 24,
24,
25.
Oh,
2024,
yes.
25.
Yeah, I think we're doing one more year of it's going to go up for $1
A
million,
million?
and then it might
Yeah,
go up 9 to 12 million or something like that. I've
yeah,
heard.
that's a jump they need.
Yeah. So next year might be a little bit tight, but the following year, I think his 12.6 is going to be no longer the highest pretty quickly, and you're going to see a lot of players passing him because this salary cap has gone up. So long term, I don't. It's not an issue for me really
Mhm.
at all, and it's a deserving player if you ask me. What do you
Yeah,
think,
and
Kyle?
then the loss of Nazem Kadri and
Oh,
Burakovsky and Sturm. What does that mean to this team, and who's going to take their places? Most importantly, Nazem Kadri.
When it comes to Burakovsky, we knew all we could about Burakovsky and where he would fit with his team. I think it was a mutual parting of ways, no love lost. Sturm, he served his purpose and is finding somewhere else to fit. There are enough established Avalanche players on the roster and in the Eagles that could fill that spot, no problem. When it comes to filling the spot of Nas, I've said this many times before. Nas, this upcoming season, he can't replicate what he did last year. That was an inflated number, his best season he's ever had, and it's impossible to ask anybody on this roster to bring everything that he brought to the team. You're just asking the guys that have been around like JT Compher to step up. Like this is a step up moment. We're not trying to
mm,
fill in that spot. We're trying to ask the established guys that have been there step up into that role and we'll make a new role. We're not trying to replace Nas. We're trying to make a new 2C.
Okay, and then at goaltender,
mm.
I'm a Rangers fan, and to me, Alexander Georgiev was hit and miss. What are your thoughts? And is he going to be the starting goaltender?
Whenever anybody asks us about this, like Kyle and I are split. He liked the move. I was a little timid on it, and for me, it's yeah. You keep hearing he has all this potential, and it just was never realized in New York, thanks to Shesterkin. So could the Avs catch lightning in a bottle with him and look like geniuses? Sure. could it fall flat on their face? And he, is just not what, or he is what he was in New York, which was very hot and cold. Let's be real about it. And
That's
they
what I
want to,
saw. Yeah.
yeah, they want to hang it on. Well, he didn't play all that much. And if you give him the starting role and he plays game after game, he'll settle into that. Okay, fine. And I'm willing to give him that opportunity. I just need to see it. But Kyle, he's full into that. Are you not? Like, you're into
Yeah,
it. Like,
and honestly, if Chris is right when it comes to Georgiev or however it plays out, you still have Francouz there, and I feel like
yeah,
that's who's going to end up with this number one, whatever title you want to put, starting goalie 1A. I don't whatever nomenclature you want to put on it. I feel like it's going to be his job when it's all said and done. Georgiev, it's a little competition. It's making it fun, and I've said this a million times. We made Darcy Kemper legitimate. Philip Grubauer legitimate, and you could do the same with Georgiev with that defensive core in front of you, and
it's
you
true.
get to compete for a starting
Good point.
job and a returning Stanley Cup champion. Who doesn't want that as a kid growing up as a goalie? That's the position you want. Gives them a little competition back there to be on your A game night in, night out, because if you're not, you are relegated to 1B. You're not losing your spot on the team, but you're 1B. And we could play with the roles. And it's a great problem to have, especially hearing how everything is in Vegas. We have two quality goaltenders that you could play around with. I mean, that's a gift.
That's a blessing for sure. And
Yeah.
I there's a couple of players that I thought would have fit in well at value contracts for the Vegas Golden Knights. One you just got on a PTO, Sonny Milano, and then Evan
No.
Rodriguez. I think those
Yeah.
two could be steals for your organization.
Well, we didn't get Milano. We
went to Calgary.
Yes.
Oh, you went to
Milano
Calgary. Sorry, why did I say that? Yeah,
We got
If,
because
that
it
one
if we
happened.
got Milano, you'd
Take
see
two.
me dancing around. I would
Yeah,
Oh,
on
okay.
this for a while.
Because
My
it
bad.
happened.
My
No.
bad.
It
But was there
happened.
anyone else you got dirt cheap?
There-
Okay, so Evan Rodriguez.
Galchenyuk.
Galchenyuk. We got Galchenyuk. Yeah,
Okay,
that's what it
bail
was.
me out here.
Yeah.
I just
And those
it's
things
late at
happen
night,
like
and
a
I
day-
just I don't focus sometimes. Sorry,
we were
guys.
we were
Oh.
wanting Milano.
Yes.
I'm on the wrong podcast.
No, but the Galchenyuk one, why not? Let's throw something at the wall, see if it sticks. It's worked for them pretty well in the past before with who am I thinking? Nichushkin and Jack Johnson. They seem to have some luck here. So let's try it again. And if it doesn't work, okay. It's, we still have guys that were going to be in that spot anyway. But if it does work and, guys can get up for playing for a Stanley Cup defending champion team, they'll just benefit from that. So, yeah, I think the Galchenyuk one is why not? And the Evan Rodriguez one is something that they had to do. They
think that's pretty
needed
good.
to. They had
He
to.
fills a need, and I think he's going to be one of those guys. And I'm concerned as much as you guys are at these players that have career seasons, like a Nick Waugh from last year. Chandler Stevenson, I really like, but can he replicate a season he had from a year ago? No, I don't think so. I'm with you on that one as well. And then what about your prospect? Is it that Myers kid?
Yeah, everybody's kind of big on him right now because he's the new toy kind of thing. Like, they got a little bit of a taste from him last year, 5 games at the end of the year. So people are really looking to see what he can do. Oscar Olausson is another one. He's their first round pick from a couple years ago. He needs to put on some meat on his bones. I mean, he could use that 14 pounds of muscle, whoever you were talking about on Vegas.
Yeah.
But he's got a shot that's just NHL ready now. He's a good one. Who's some other ones out there?
Foodie.
Oh, Jean-Luc Foodie is.
And Ranta. But these are names that you're not going to hear because the Avalanche have this wonderful problem of a talented roster. We have a crock pot of prospects just getting warm and bubbling up in Loveland for the Eagles. We don't need the prospects yet, so we're just letting them simmer, letting them season. And next year, when some contracts come up that we have to make some decisions about, we're not so tied to these contracts because our prospects have been working in the system and getting a feel for how the speed of the game is, and we can easily bring them up and call them up next year. So these names that we're telling you now, you might not see them this year. Next year, when there's They're going to
Yeah.
make an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Martin Kaut is another one that's
Yeah.
he's been around for a while. One of those guys that just hasn't been able to make that jump. And he even said today at training camp that he flat out said, he's like, I think this is my last chance here. And sometimes that lights a fire under people. So big guy. He just, for some reason, like, I think he'd be great on a fourth line. He's only played like 8 total games with them. And he's been with the team for God, what, 6 years at least? I mean,
Gotta be
it's
5
been
or
a
6
while.
years.
Just hasn't been able to do it. Is this year that he finally can like crack the team and stay up there? That remains to be seen. So we'll find out.
So when I was a kid, Muhammad Ali once fought like 5 guys in an exhibition in one day, and he just beat the crap out of all 5 of them. So are the Avalanche that good that they get to play 2 preseason games in one day on Sunday? Are you guys
Yeah, we're-
playing 2 games?
Yeah, we are split
They're
squad.
probably doing a
It's a
split
split
strat.
squad. Is one of the okay? I want to know
And
this.
one
Will one of
from-
those teams, one of those split squad teams, go to Bradenton? What's going on here?
Yeah, we got one of those split squads are going to be heavy prospects. So
Yeah.
if you want to hear some of those names, that if you want to see some of those names we're talking about, I believe
That's the
those are
Wild
going
game?
to. I believe they're going to Minnesota, and I believe the Vegas game will be the established.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Yeah,
No, it's they're really just playing holograms. They are playing twice in the same day.
yeah. I was like,
And
how
they're
could that
going
be?
they're going to have
Yep.
holograms going up against Vegas, and
It'll be like high school teams: Colorado Avalanche,
yeah.
East and West.
yeah.
Well, do you see perhaps that Colorado does want to establish some sort of an edge? It's been a rivalry of sorts, right?
Yeah,
By
man.
loading up and having your main squad there, obviously. I think it's on TV back here in Vegas too. So I don't think that the worst part of that stinking rookie face-off. Okay, let's get to
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
And there's Brendan Versailles scores a goal. And I see on social media these wannabe like media folks here in Vegas. Oh, what a great goal. Look at that move. Okay. They had those robotic cameras and you never saw the goal. All you see, I'm like, oh, yeah, I could see what they're doing at center ice. I can't see somebody scoring. What are you
I
guys talking
know.
about?
I
Anyway,
know.
so
Yeah.
back to where we were. Where were we?
You were asking about prospects, and we were kind of
Prospects, yes.
moving on from that. But I kind of want to know, like, what do we think? The finality of this. For the Avalanche, we're dead set on winning another one. You alluded to it earlier. Vegas, in the end, do they wrap up a at least a playoff spot this year? Like, what? I mean, if you want to go predictions early, that we're not going to hold you to.
No, hold me to it. Yeah.
I will.
If
I will.
If I
I
say
will for
something, I
sure.
know you guys will definitely hold me to it anyway. So,
Do you
okay.
think
There's
they
no
get
disclaimer here. Yeah.
Okay.
Will they make it into the I think it's going to be like one of those last week of the season,
Ooh,
barely like sneak in type of a season
okay.
for VGK. I'm just curious to see, there's so many unknowns. I'm just curious to see how this team starts off. And that to me will be a telltale sign if they're going to have, this ability to stay in the hunt for the entire season. I mean, I have 3 teams currently rated ahead of them in the Pacific. Calgary, which
Yep.
I call Calgary still, and I'm not Canadian, and then Edmonton
Edmonton.
and LA. The LA Kings, I
is
think, could
good.
maybe,
Really?
make the move too. And it might be between the Kings and VGK for that very last, playoff spot. And, Calgary with that giant killer, Sonny Milano now, you gotta be aware of Calgary now.
Who's their opening game against? Do you know?
Is it the Kings? I'm trying to think. I'm so lost. Sorry, man. I think it's the Kings.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think they
I'm
open
looking
on the
it up.
road and then they come back home.
I'm looking it up right now.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
You guys,
You got okay.
I got
So
4
you-
seasons going on. I'm doing Raiders stuff. I got all sorts of things. We're getting ready for hoops. All sorts of stuff happening here.
Yeah. October's crazy. October, like everything is.
And October in
all at
Vegas
once.
is pretty crazy, because I have an event company. And so now this is like the best time of year to have events in Vegas. So it's good. It's all good though. People are calling again and It's great, and I'm on podcast as a guest.
So while Chris is looking up that opening game,
Can't find it.
it's
Yeah,
you
let's
get the
see.
Kings over the Ducks in the Pacific. Just
Yeah,
from
yeah.
really
From everything,
okay.
from everything I've heard, well, the addition of Fiala, I think, is going to be big for the Kings.
Mm,
I think they're pretty close, and they have a lot of great, young talent. I think on that team, the Ducks, from everything I've gathered, just through the pipeline, is that they're trying to build this for next year. So they
okay.
still feel like they're one season away before they can have that breakout where they have the right mix of prospects and the talent that they're developing, and they're doing a great job. Could be a surprise. Seattle, who knows what happens with them? They're a wild card of sorts. Vancouver, like, I mean, this
Yeah, that's
division,
Yeah.
every
rough.
point is really, I hate to sound cliche, but every point really truly will matter this season in the
Yeah.
Pacific Division. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Golden Knights finish first or second, or if they're in fifth or sixth. I
Hmm.
wouldn't be shocked either way. That's where we're at here.
Wow. October 11th in LA
Yeah.
against the Kings is their opener. And then the
LA.
day off, and then they're in Chicago, day off at home again. Or no, excuse me. In LA, then at home against Chicago, then away in Seattle is their first three.
We
So
have awful preseason promotions here. So the
mhm.
promotion they have is you can, if get a ticket upon admission, you get a gold statue. And the first one is it was such an awkward moment. Bruce Cassidy will be the first gold statue that the fans can get. And they were just like on the road, and they put these statues everywhere, and it just was like corny. Like, but Bruce Cassidy, somebody asked him, "Hey, what do you think of these gold statues? The first one's of you." He's like, "Ah, yeah, okay, great, yeah." Like, and the other ones are like Jack Eichel. Looks nothing like Eichel. I mean,
No.
I look more like
Does
Jack Eichel than that
does
statue does.
does Kelly McCrimmon have one with awesome
No,
eyebrows? Maybe
no,
is that
no, they should just have a statue with no face and just eyebrows. But
You
he's
put
gonna
all the
be.
gold statues together and have a
I
Megazord
would
at the end
try
of
to
the
find a way
season.
to get one of those. Yeah,
I've
I
got,
would want one.
I don't know how big they are because they were placing them all over the place, and it was just weird. It's just strange. That's the oddest promotion
Oh
ever.
man,
They don't have any giveaways during the regular season. Of
no,
course, preseason to sell tickets, they're going to do something. Why not bobbleheads, guys?
right? Those are always a fan favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bobbleheads work. All the time.
Oh man. All right, Tony.
When's your next Spaces, man? I'm calling in.
I'm looking forward to watching this team this year. I do every year. It's I don't know, a guilty pleasure that I have with the Vegas Golden Knights. So
You guys are
uh,
great. No, I appreciate you having me on. It's
oh,
always good to
definitely,
catch up. It's always
definitely.
great to catch up with you.
And like I said, follow Tony on his personal Twitter page and the team's Twitter page as well. But his specifically covers a lot of things more than just Vegas hockey. I get a kick out of his Twitter page. So
Does it ever?
that's good stuff. So good luck this year, my man. And
Thanks. Same to you guys.
we'll meet up at some point during the season, and we'll kind of catch up and see where our teams are.
You're
All
awesome.
right.
Thank you. Thanks for
All
having
right,
me.
guys. Thanks for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. For Tony Cordasco from Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, Mr. Kyle Shaggy Von Doom Sullivan, and myself, Chris Maselli. Have a good weekend, everybody. Training camp is open. Get excited. Hockey is right around the corner. We'll be back on Monday. See you later.